the first half was miserable. I was depressed for the first month and a half of the season. I didn't enjoy coming to the field. Like, my numbers sucked. I didn't feel like I was contributing to the team. So it was like I was on the team, but didn't feel like I was contributing, which is a terrible feeling for any competitor. You want to be one of the main guys and, out there and with your teammates and contributing. And then the second half started off terribly, one of my worst starts in pro ball. And then over the course of the next couple months, it turned around. So it's been enjoyable for sure, because I feel like I'm able to contribute, instead of just being on the team. I feel like I'm a part of the team.
Guys, Trevor Bauer with some pretty candid words about how his season has unfolded. Rough in the first half. The second half, though, he was great. And we'll show you some numbers in a bit that illustrate that. He's going to get the ball from Tito Francona in Game 1 of the ALDS against the New York Yankees, not Corey Kluber. Tito apparently saving Kluber so he can pitch on normal rest in a Game 5 if necessary. Guys, do you like this move to have Bauer start Game 1 and not your potential Cy Young?
I don't hate this move. I despise this move. Trevor Bauer has a 4 ERA versus Corey Kluber, who's arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Every game matters. You got to get the first one. And hearing that soundbite, candid, I call it depressing. That does not seem like a guy confident, ready to take the ball in Game 1, does it?
Last time I checked, Terry Francona has 2 rings.
2 rings.
So if it works for Terry Francona and he thinks that's the right move, I'm going to agree with him because he's the guy that has the experience. Trevor Bauer, I saw him come up through the organization of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I saw his stretching routine. He's got good stuff. The man has a nice fastball. He has a nice curveball. So his pitching, the pitches that he has in his repertoire are good.
Did you like that sound?
It's not about the sound. It's about what he does on the field. I don't care what he says at the podium. When I looked at him in the second half of the season, last 13 starts, the man was 10-1, had a nasty ERA. He can get hitters out, and I feel like what happened in the postseason last year gives him opportunity for redemption. He doesn't like the way he played in the postseason. Everybody remembers him for the drone incident and the cut finger. I feel like he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's motivated to go out there and prove people like you wrong.
And he definitely deserves to start, just not Game 1. If you were Tito Francona, if you were the manager of the Indians, would you start him?
I would probably think to start Kluber first. However, I'm not Tito Francona, and he knows way more about baseball than I will ever try to know. So I will defer to. He has the equity, Tim. He went to the World Series last year and lost in a Game 7, riding Corey Kluber to that Game 7. He knows this staff, and he knows what kind of form Trevor Bauer is in. With that 10-2 record in the second half, 10-1 over his final 13 starts, like you said, CT. The ERA almost sub-3 in the second half. It's not like Trevor Bauer was garbage. Is he as good as Corey Kluber? No. Is he as good as Carlos Carrasco? Probably not even as good as Carlos Carrasco. However, I do trust, because of the 2 World Series rings and what he's done in Cleveland, Tito Francona. How can you not?
Francona said it's a no-lose situation. Understand why. If you win Game 1, then you have your number 1 guy in Kluber in Game 2. You're up 2-0. You have a commanding lead in the series. If you lose Game 1, then you still have your number 1 guy that can allow you to tie the series up. So either way it goes, the way he looks at it, he cannot lose.
I know. If you're looking to kind of plan out the postseason for the Indians, I get what he's trying to do. I just think every single win is the most important game. You know what you want to do against the Yankees in that lineup? Establish dominance early in the series. I want to win Game 1. And then if you win Game 2, now you have a stranglehold where the Yankees would have to sweep you the last 3 games. Oh, and by the way, face Corey Kluber again. So I get what he's doing. I just don't like it.
Let's look at the Yankees side of things. And the pitchers don't pitch against one another, so I hate to say it's Trevor Bauer versus Sonny Gray. It's Sonny Gray versus the Cleveland lineup. It's Trevor Bauer versus the Yankees lineup. But Sonny Gray did pitch well, especially on the road this season. Despite the win-loss record, a 3.11 ERA in road starts between Oakland and New York, a 240 opponent's batting average. He pitched very well on the road. He will be at Progressive Field in Cleveland as the starter in Game 1, we do believe. Do you like Girardi going to Sonny Gray in this spot rather than a Masahiro Tanaka, a CC Sabathia, or even a guy like Luis Severino, who pitched just 29 pitches in the wild card
I
game.
think this is a vote of confidence for Sonny Gray. If they're going to make any sort of run, they're going to need him to be productive. I don't think he's pitched outstanding in a Yankees uniform, but who would you give the edge to out of Bauer or Gray? Who did you say is the better pitcher?
Me personally, I give the edge to Trevor Bauer. When I look at his stuff, the grade that I saw with the Yankees wasn't the grade that I was expecting to see. That wasn't the, elite pitcher that we saw with the Oakland Athletics. He just didn't have it. Now, some of that was with his defense. His defense didn't necessarily have his back. When he was out there on the mound, they made a couple of errors in some games. The offense didn't necessarily pick him up. But if we're asking who I trust between those two guys, what I saw from Trevor Bauer late, not the full body of work, not the playoffs last year, but down the stretch, that Bauer, I like him better than the Gray that I saw.
You see how he calls him Gray? I call him Sonny. See, I'm more optimistic.
You're an optimist.
Yes,
He's
exactly. Yes.
I see what you did there. Regardless, Bauer and Gray can't be much worse than the starting pitching we saw in the wild card round. Both in the American League and the National League, the starting pitching was bad, so Cleveland and New York going to hope for something better in the ALDS. Game 1 going to feature Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray.